in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at some map skills and looking how to develop these and use them to help us identify some of the landforms that we've been looking at in this topic. So the maps on screen there, we can see are OS maps. So OS stands for Ordnance Survey, and they are the people who make our maps in the UK. So OS maps can give us a lot of information about the landscape of the UK, and being able to understand and read off these maps is a very important skill, particularly if you're interested in taking geography next year at GCSE. Then map skills are really, really important. But they're also important outside of geography and outside of school, because being able to read maps is a key skill for everybody, really. So it's something good to know, and you can find out a lot of information just by looking at these maps of what the landscape is like. So we're going to try and identify some river and glacial landscapes on map, and whilst we're doing this, we're going to learn how to use grid references and contour lines. So firstly, we're going to look at 4-digit grid references. So firstly, I'd like you to name this landform that I've circled here, try and jog your memory a bit. So we can see it's a bend in the river, but what's the proper name for it? So write it down. Hopefully you've got that it is a meander. So meander, remember, is our bend in the river. So we've got it forming when we've got lots of erosion happening on the outer bend and deposition on the inner bend, causing a curve in the river like that. So we want to be able to try and give the 4-digit grid reference. So on our map, you can see maps are divided into squares like this, and then each line will have a number assigned to it. So we're going to use these to give a grid reference, because these help us locate places on a map. Because imagine that you had a much bigger map of this and you were looking for a specific thing on there. It's so much easier if you know the grid reference of the thing you're looking for. So this is just a small extract of a much larger map. So to give our grid references, firstly, we want to go along the corridor and then up the stairs. So that's how we do this. So our meander is in this box here. So we want to give essentially like the coordinates for the bottom corner of the box. So you always go to the bottom left corner. So this is these are the lines we're going to be reading. So if we're going to go along the corridor and then we're going to go up the stairs. So along the corridor, we know we've got to go down here. So it's line 38. So our first two digits are going to be 3 and 8. So then we're going to go up the stairs. So then we're going to go here. So our next digit is going to be 21. So our 4-digit grid reference is going to be 3, 8, 2, 1. So you don't need to put a comma or a dash or anything in between that. You just write it as a 4-digit number. So 3821. So that is our grid reference. So if we were going to say, where is the meander on this map? What's the grid reference? We'd say, oh, it's in box 3821. And we'd be able to find it really easily. So it's just there. So now it's your turn. So there's some landforms on here, and I would like you to give a 4-digit reference. Obviously, you can see for some of them, like meanders, there's a lot of meanders on there. There's quite a lot of tributaries and confluences. So just a reminder, a tributary is a smaller river that feeds into a bigger river. Like, for example, we can see here the River Dove is then feeding into the river here, so into the Derwent. Then we can see all these other smaller tributaries. A confluence is like this. So it's the point where the two rivers meet, like that. So we can see another confluence there and there. So we can see a lot of them. So that's what they are. So I'm going to tell you which ones I'd like you to give the grid reference for. So I'm going to circle them. So for the meander, we're going to look at this meander here. For the Oxbow Lake, I believe there's only one on here, which is there, so we can see it's where the meander's been cut off. So that's our Oxbow Lake. For a lake, we're going to look at this big one here. For our tributary, we're going to look at this little river here, running the River Dove. And then for our confluence, we're going to look at this one here. So they're the 5 things I would like you to give the grid reference for. And then as a challenge, or if you're feeling confident and you'd like to do some more, then I'd like you to see if you can find these 3 places. So Highfield Farm, then the Weir and Dovecliff. So find these three things on the map and see if you can give the grid reference for them. So if you'd like to press pause and have a go at that now. Okay, so hopefully we've done that. So I'd like you to get your green pens ready and I'm going to mark them. So our meander is 1038. So if we look at here, so our meander's here. So if we're going to go across the hall, so it means line 10. So line 10 is here and then line 38. So that means it's going to be 1038 grid references for our meander. So our Oxbow Lake is 1040. So again, so line 10 and then we're going to go up to line 40 and there's our box containing our Oxbow Lake. So our lake is 1039, our tributary is 1138 and our confluence is 0838. So again, for all of those, we'd go to the bottom of the box, we'll go across the hall and up the stairs for all of them. And we'd hopefully get those grid references. So if you got them right, that's great, give yourself a tick. If you got them wrong, doesn't matter, just correct them. And please be honest with these, as it's good to see if you're understanding it. And if you're not understanding it, please let us know, because then we can try and put you in the right direction to things that can help you, because this can sometimes take a while to get. So now we're going to look at our 6-digit grid references. So our 4-digit grid references give us a position within a singular box, but our 6-digit grid references is even more specific. So when we looked at our 4-digit grid reference, it took us to this box here. So 3821 was this box. So that was our grid reference for our meander. But now we want to be even more specific than that. So when we're doing our 6-digit grid references, we want to zoom in on a specific box of our bigger map. So like this. So we want to divide it into 10 along the bottom and 10 along the top to get our 6-digit grid references. So like before, we're going to go along across the hall and then up the stairs. So we're going to give the grid reference for this for the outer bend of the meander. So this kind of furthest point here. So we want to go across the stairs first. Our first 2 digits are going to remain the same, 3 and 8, because it's in box 38. So they're going to remain the same. That's not going to change. But we want to find out how far into box 38 it is. So for that, we need to divide it into 10. So we've got box 0, box 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can see it's in box 5. So digit number 3 is going to be 5. So our first 3 digits are going to be 3, 8, because it's in box 38. And it's 5 along, so it's going to be 5. And then we're going to go up the stairs, like before. So we know our next 2 digits are going to be 21, because it's on this one, it's on line 21. And then we want to see how far up it goes. And as we can see, it's in the first box. It doesn't go up very far. So our last digit is going to be 0 because it hasn't reached box 1 yet. So that would be our 6-digit grid reference. So our first 2 digits are this box here. So the line like that. Our 3rd digit is how far along that line it is. Our 4th and 5th digit are going to be then this line here, so how far it is. And then our 6th digit is going to be how far up this line it is. So it means that our 6-digit grid reference is 385210. So it's more specific than our 4-digit one. So I'd like you to now have a turn. So find the 6-digit grid reference for the number 4 that is listed there. So obviously, you know, digit 1 and 2 is going to be 3 and 8. And you know 4 and 5 is going to be 2 and 1. So if you'd like to have a go at that now, and press pause. Okay, so hopefully you've done that. So a bit of a practice. So we'll do it together. So obviously we know it's 38. So we're going to go along line number 38. And then we're going to see it's in box 6. So it's going to be 386. And then line 21, it's further up. So then we're going to go to line 8. And we're going to see it's in box 8. So it's going to be 386218. So that would be our 6-digit grid reference for that. So now, again, we can see, so obviously zoom back out, this is what the map looks like, and then we divide it up. So had we been in school, you'd have had a printout of a map like this, and you'd be able to do it with a pencil and a ruler, and divide it into 10 and work it out like that. I understand at home it's a lot harder, but we'll try and make the best of it. So I'd like you to find the 6-digit grid references for the following landforms. So we've got meander, oxbow lake, lake, tributary, confluence, are the same ones as before. So I'll highlight them again on the map for you. Obviously, because it's the lake is big, then just go do your grid reference for this pink dot here, because obviously it's going to cover quite a few. So I'd like you now to have a go at trying to do the 6-digit grid references. So again, try your best with it. If there's any you're not sure about, that's fine. If you're struggling with this, then do let us know if you're finding it hard. And then obviously I will show you the answers shortly, and you can mark them. And please be honest with it. If you got it wrong, be honest that you got it wrong, because you're not going to get in trouble for getting it wrong. But please don't, write it in afterwards and say you got it right, because that doesn't help you, it doesn't help us. So if you'd like to press pause and have a go at that now. So we'll actually do the first one together, that might make it easier. So again, we've got our meander here. So we're going to go along, so we're at line 10. And then we want to see how far along it is into box 10. So there, we're going to go across. So it's obviously, again, we haven't got our ruler here, so it makes it a bit difficult, but it's just under halfway. So we're going to go with 4. So we go 10, 0, 4, and then on 38. So we can see into box 38 here, it is about, again, probably just under halfway, about 4. So I would say the grid reference for that is 1, 0, 4, 3, 8, 4. So use that to help you and have a go at the other ones. Okay, so hopefully we've done that. So I'm going to put the answers on screen. So as I said, be honest, as it is quite difficult to read on a screen, on digits 3 and 6, if you're 1 off it, I will allow it. Just pure. If it was in school, I wouldn't. I want it exact. But because we can't really do our lines accurately because we're doing it on a computer, for the moment, if you got it 1 off, I will allow you to mark it as correct, because it is hard to do it accurately from a screen. So there are answers if you want to green pen them. And now we're going to think about contour lines. So contour lines show us heights on maps. So each line joins up an area of the same height, and between each line there is a difference in elevation of 10 meters. So like on here, we can see our lines, what they look like when they're flat like this, but they show height. So we can see actually the landscape is like this. So yeah, so it matches up like that. And then the closer together the lines are, the steeper the slope, because it means there's less space between that 10-meter elevation, which means the slope is really going to be very steep. So rather than a gentle curve, if the lines are close together, we're going to have a steeper gradient like that. And these lines can show us landforms such as valleys, corries, and stuff like that. We can see them really clearly on these maps. So how we can use these maps to have a look at a valley is like this. So we can see our contour lines like this. So this number here shows us the meters above sea level, and it said so each one is 10 difference. So we could mark it. So if we want to see what this river valley actually looks like, we can do it like this. So mark them on like that. So this would be 210 above sea level, 200, 190, that. So we can see that this side of the valley is a lot steeper because they're close together, and this bit here is flat because there's a really long gap between 150 and 160. So it means that this is a very gentle slope. It's nearly flat, whereas these, it's the same difference in height, but they're a lot closer together. So if we was going to do it, we'd do it like this, look. Yeah, so we can see our valley looks like that. So this valley we can see here. We know that it's going to go down, it's going to go a bit flatter, and then it's going to go up on a steeper curve. So again, just to show you that, yeah, we can see it looks like that. So that's how we can use our contour lines to see what things look like and give us an idea of what the landscape is like. So what can you tell about this landscape from this map? Is there any landforms that you can pick out? So I'd like you to press pause and just note down some ideas of what you can see. Okay, so this is actually part of an OS map showing the Lake District, and we can tell, so these contour lines are very, very close together. So we can tell there's a lot of steep peaks here, and we can see lots of valleys, and then these bits here where the circle higher up, so we can see that they're peaks. So we can see there's a lot of steep landscapes. Here we can see a very nice looking valley. So we can see it's really, really steep. Look how all these red lines are really close together. And then they just suddenly stop, and we've got this kind of wide space with no red lines, which means the land is flat. And then it starts again. So this would show as a U-shaped valley. So this is one of those valleys that a glacier is like bulldozed through. And then we can see other things here. So like we can see some tarns are marked. So we can see the corries with the steep backs. So we can see some arêtes because we've got these kind of corries forming side to side. So again, we can see that steep back there. Again, we can see a much larger valley with a lake in it. So one of these ribbon lakes. And we can see these steep sides here. And also we can see some like rivers coming down here. We can see where the lines go in that we've got some valleys here. So these could potentially be hanging valleys, or they could be kind of just little rivers going into the lake. But we can tell quite a lot from this landscape just by looking at this map. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to, this is just a bit of a recap again to glacial landforms, explain the formation of this landform here. So this landform here, so we can see the word tarn. So because it's tarn, we can assume that this is a corrie because we can see the steep back and we can see it kind of this hollow here. So I'd like you to explain how it's formed. So if you feel confident, I'd like you to press pause and have a go at doing it now. If you feel less confident, then I've got a gap fill on here that I'd like you to do. So write out this paragraph with the missing words in. The missing words are at the bottom, and this will tell you how a corrie forms. So if you'd like to press pause and do that now. Okay, so hopefully you've done that. So if you did it on your own without using the gap fill, then you can compare your answer to this one. And if you did the gap fill, then use your green pen to mark the answers. Again, please be honest, because if you're not telling the truth, the only person you're cheating out of help is yourself. So I'd rather, if you get it wrong, be honest that you got it wrong. So snow falls and collects in a hollow on the side of a mountain. As the snow continues to fall and build up, it becomes compressed and the air is squeezed out. After many years of snow falling and compacting, a glacier will form. The processes of plucking and freeze-fall action make the hollow bigger, creating the steep back wall of the corrie. The corrie becomes deeper due to abrasion. The most erosion takes place where the ice is heaviest. The ice trapped in the hollow still tries to move downwards due to gravity, creating a rotational slip. Less erosion takes place at the front of the glacier. Here, some material is deposited, creating the corrie lip. This creates a steep-sided, rounded hollow called a corrie. When the ice in the corrie melts, it creates a lake in the hollow known as a tarn. So that is our corrie formation. And then just one last thing to finish off, odd one out. So we've got 3 extracts from OS maps here. I'd like you to identify the odd one out and write your reason why. So if you'd like to press pause and do that. So hopefully you all said number 3. The reason being because this one shows a much less the contour lines here are much further apart. So this shows the landscape is not as steep. Whereas here we can see there's very kind of, steep slopes here. We can tell steep slopes. Whereas here, this is slopes because we've got our contour lines. But overall, we've got a bit of a steep slope here. But overall, it's a lot more gentle. We've got some flatter land here, whereas this is showing kind of very, very steep slopes kind of all over. So that's it for today's lesson.